Hello and welcome. In the problem we will be solving now, we deal with the situation often faced by businesses of products or product lines not doing well and decisions on dropping or retaining them. We call these product mix decisions. In such decisions, we use the concept of relevant costs. Now, relevant costs are costs that will be impacted by the decision to change the product mix. In other words, we do not consider costs that are not impacted by the decision, and we use only the costs that change because of the change in the decision alter the product mix. The problem statement is decide the changes, if any, required to be made in the product mix of a company. In the case of Madhu Company, the company whose accounts we are handling now, we are given some revenue and cost figures for products A and B and the total figures for the year. You can see the figures there: sales revenue, direct material, direct labor, and factory overhead and administration overhead. Now, if we look at all the costs and the resulting profit, we can see here that the net profit will be 50,000 rupees. We are told that the factory overhead as well as selling overhead and administration overhead has a 50% variable and a 50% fixed component. And we are also given some information about the direct material and direct labor ratios, with the help of which the product-wise profitability can be calculated. As you can see here, the figures that are given are for A and B put together, and for A and B separately, information has been given to us with which we can arrive at the profit of A and B independently. Due to fall in demand of products A and B, the company has plans to diversify and make product C using 40% of the capacity. And we are told that with the 40% capacity utilization of C, we can produce 30,000 units of that product at 14 rupees sale price per unit. And the cost figures have been given to us with which we can work out the profits that we get if we produce and sell product C. The problem for us is to recommend whether to diversify or retain the present product mix. Now, assuming 40% of the capacity is to be used now for C and only 60% is to be used for A and B, we should calculate for now what the profits are and what the profits will be when the change takes place and decide which is the better alternative. First, let us look at the company's present sales, variable costs, contributions and profit for A and B separately. Now, you see in front of you the figures for A and B put together, which comes to 50,000 rupees. Now, we can calculate separately for A and B using the information given to us. We are told that A has a price of 12 rupees and 30,000 units are produced and sold, and so the sale is 3,60,000. The costs are given to us. Direct labor is 1/4 of the sale price, and since the price is 12 rupees, we have the cost of labor as 3 rupees into 30,000 units, which will be 90,000, and raw material is 2/3 of labor cost, which is therefore 2 rupees into 30,000 units, and so you have 60,000 rupees as raw material cost. Coming to overheads, we are told the factory overheads are in line with labor cost. Now, if the factory overheads are totally equal to the labor cost, the total factory overheads will be 90,000 rupees. And we are also given to understand that 50% of the factory overheads is variable. And so, the variable cost of factory will be 50% of 90,000, which is 45,000. Similarly, we are told that 50% of selling and administration expenses are variable. Now, selling and administration expenses are charged at a flat 3 rupees per unit. 3 rupees per unit into 30,000 units is 90,000, and so 50% of that will be 45,000. Now, we have got all the variable costs here. 60,000 is raw material, 90,000 labor, 45,000 variable factory overheads, and 45,000 rupees of variable selling and administration. Total of all these comes to 2,40,000, and therefore contribution is 1,20,000, from which we reduce the fixed factory overheads and fixed selling and administration, which are equal to the figures charged already as variable, which are 45,000 and 45,000. When we reduce these from the contribution, we get a profit of 30,000 rupees. Coming to product B, the information that we have with us is we sell 20,000 units of product B at 20 rupees per unit. So sales is 4 lakh rupees. Direct labor cost is 1/4 of the price, which is 5 rupees, and therefore 5 rupees into 20,000 units will be direct labor of 1 lakh rupees. Direct material will be 4/5 of direct labor cost, which is 4 rupees per unit into 20,000 units, which is 80,000 rupees. Fixed and variable factory overhead is the same as direct labor. Now, direct labor cost, as you know, is 1 lakh rupees, and therefore factory overhead is 1 lakh, of which 50% is fixed and 50% is variable. Now, first let us take the variable, and therefore variable factory overhead is 50,000. Then we have selling and administration expenses, which are charged at a flat 5 rupees per unit for 20,000 units, which is 1 lakh, and of this 50% is fixed and 50% is variable. So, variable selling and administration expenses is 50,000. Now, we have all the information for calculating the contribution of product B, which comes to 80,000 of materials, 1 lakh of direct labor, 50,000 of variable factory overheads, and 50,000 of variable selling and administration, which we can reduce from 4 lakh rupees, which is the sale value, to arrive at the contribution, which is 1,20,000 rupees. 2,80,000 is the total variable cost and 1,20,000 is the contribution, from which we reduce fixed factory overhead, which is 50,000, and fixed selling and administration, which is 50,000, adding up to 1 lakh, and therefore we have a contribution, a net profit of 20,000 rupees from product B. As you know, the total profits of the company are 50,000 rupees, which we now have successfully classified between product A and product B. Now that we have all the revenues and costs of A and B, we will construct the product-wise profitability statement. You can see here the information that we just now worked out and the profits of 30,000 rupees from A and 20,000 from B, adding up to 50,000. On this, we now superimpose the product C and find out how the profits will change. Please note that the information given to us on C is converted into a profitability statement. Sales revenue is 30,000 units times 14 rupees, direct material is 30,000 units times 2.5 rupees, and labor is 3 rupees per unit into 30,000 rupees. Now, variable factory overhead and fixed factory overhead, we are told, have to be charged in line with product A, and therefore, since in the case of product A, it is 100% of labor, it is the same here, and so we take 90,000 rupees as the factory overhead, of which 50% is fixed and 50% is variable. We are also told that the selling and administration cost has to be taken in line with product A, and for product A we charge 3 rupees per unit, and therefore the same 3 rupees per unit for 30,000 units of C will work out to 90,000 rupees. Of this 90,000 rupees, 50% is variable, and that we take here in variable selling and administration expenses, which comes to 45,000. So now we have a total variable cost of material 75,000, labor 90,000, variable factory overhead 45,000, and variable selling and administration 45,000, adding up to 2,55,000 rupees. And when we reduce this from sales revenue of 4,20,000 rupees, we get a contribution of 1,65,000 rupees. Now, the contribution that has come from product C is 1,65,000 rupees, but because of using 40% of the capacity for C, we have only 60% capacity left for A and B. Therefore, the contribution that we would have got from product A and product B will be reduced by 40% each, and we will have only 60% of the contribution that we would have originally got when we were using the full capacity for products A and B. So, the contribution in total from product A and B was, if you remember, 1,20,000 rupees and 1,20,000 rupees, adding up to 2,40,000 rupees. Now we get 60% of this, which is 72,000 rupees, and 72,000 rupees for B, adding up 1,44,000 rupees. The contribution will go down from 2,40,000 rupees by 96,000 rupees. However, you can see that the loss in contribution of 96,000 rupees is more than made up by the extra contribution that we have generated from product C. If you remember, the product C gave us a contribution of 1,65,000 rupees. Therefore, as against C, which gives us 1,65,000, A and B loss is only 96,000, and so we stand to make an extra 69,000 rupees. The loss being less because of the change in the product mix and the profit being higher by 69,000 rupees, we decide that we should change the product mix and start producing and selling C. You will observe that in this entire exercise, we have not taken the fixed costs for the product C. Why is this? This is simply because fixed costs are what are called unavoidable costs, which have been incurred and which will not be repeated. There is therefore the entire contribution of product C coming to the bottom line as profit. In summary, you can see here that the company stands to make an operating profit of 1,19,000 rupees after the introduction of product C, as against the contribution and the profit of 50,000 rupees before the product mix was effected. And therefore, the company is well advised to change the product mix.